Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the second installment of the Emerging Leaders Resource Network Leader Power Hour. For those of you that don't know, this is the second time we've tried to have a virtual conversation across the nation with a Y leader of influence and a thought-provoking person. And we, Andre and myself, Carson Henry, I'm the exec over at YMCA Youth and Family Services out in Washington, D.C., and my friend Andre. Andre, feel free to say hi to everybody.
What's up, everybody?
We're both on the steering committee for the Emerging Leaders Resource Network, and we had this great idea. We were like, you know what? We want to try and inspire other emerging leaders across the country to get involved, get activated, and join our network of Emerging Leaders Resource Network. And to do that, we decided we were going to have conversations with dynamic leaders across the movement from across the nation. Right now, I'm at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Andre, where are you at?
I am in good old beautiful Rockford, Illinois, in my office.
And today we've got a wonderful guest speaker that is neither in Baltimore or Illinois.
Right.
And please bear with us if there's any kind of technical difficulty. We're trying. It's only our second time. Today we're gonna have somebody who is absolutely phenomenal join us. He's been a leader and an inspiration to both Andre and myself throughout our careers. And today we're going to introduce you to one of our role models, dare I say, in the movement. And hopefully you'll get some nuggets of wisdom, some growth ideas, or even just challenge yourself a little bit beyond where you've been. So today I want to introduce you all to one of our favorite guys in the movement. His name is Michael DeVaul. And Mike, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. They can read who you are down at the bottom of the video, so they know the stats. But I'm going to ask you to introduce who you really are, what you really do, and what are you really known for, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay, so let me just say hello from North Kakalaki. So I am in the great state of North Carolina, and in spite of sometimes what you hear over the internet and through the television, we are really a progressive state. I have worked for the YMCA for 31 years. I would define my career primarily by being a husband and a father first. So what I would want for my own family is what I would want for all kids and all adults who live in any community. I would also say to you, I have always embraced the global nature of what we do. So I'm not just a local leader, but I'm a global leader also. Because now more than ever, what we do connects around the globe. More than 119 countries we are in, but I would say we are influencing more than that 119.
That's absolutely phenomenal. And we thank you very much for joining us today. We're super excited.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
And for those of you that don't know, the way this works out is Andre and I have a bit of a conversation with our guests, and then what we've added is a new secret segment towards the end, so hopefully you stick around because our guest has a question for you. So, Andre, how about you get us kicked off?
So, Michael, if you don't mind me asking you, what would you say is your greatest joy? So you've been, in the Y for 31 years as a leader. What is your greatest joy in your current position as a leader in the Y movement?
So I would say my greatest joy are two things. One is having the ability on any given day to engage communities and hear the voice that people want the Y to be about and to be for, to help improve their own lives and nurture their own potential. And then secondly, I would say I have the great joy of waking up every day and not just, again, working locally, but I think working nationally and globally. But most importantly, a day like today where you can talk to young leaders who I think will influence the movement for years to come.
All right.
That's great, and we hope you're right.
Well, let me just say I know I'm right, but I will say this. Let me tell you why I know I'm right. Because the Y has always been there, and the collection of leaders is who we are. We are in an inflection moment where we're probably going through a second wave of civil rights, right? Like internationally. Mm-hmm. And so it will depend on our leaders in the our current emerging leaders who in 20 or 30 years we'll be talking about in the ways that we've been talking about John Armott or George Williams or Sir Thomas Sullivan. I mean, you have to believe that you're in a moment where you can do the ultimate good. I believe that.
And that's from wherever you are inside the movement, whether you're at the front desk or whether you've achieved the executive director position, right?
Well, I wrote about this, not I wrote, but I was interviewed in, I think, a recent AYP magazine. And I always tell people, I think you can be influential in the movement regardless of where you are. The legacy that you leave is the interaction and the way you embrace people. It is not a title. It is not a position. We are all in a position to leave a legacy, but I think we have to believe that when we wake up, right? I believe in brand, right? The brand is in our hands. It's not in the logo. I think that's what creates trust, but the validation of that trust is in the people.
Absolutely. Hey, Mike, I have a question for you. You've been a phenomenal inspiration to a lot of people throughout the movement. I'm hoping that our viewers today are getting a little taste of, why you're such an inspiration to us. When you need inspiration, where do you go? Like, who do you turn to? What do you listen to? What do you do?
So I like a little Tupac. I like a little Kendrick Lamar. I'm just I'm just getting there. That's now I'm a little bit old school, so I would have to go back to the '60s and '70s music. But I am appreciating and learning, in particularly Kendrick Lamar. I mean that is a source of inspiration. I love movies, but I also love talking to my kids. I've got a 19 and a 23-year-old son, and there's no more realism than talking to a 19 and 23-year-old who is still a little bit encumbered. And I'm, not attached to somebody else's stuff, and they give it to me, and I appreciate it. I get it, and I learn from them too. But also, as I say to people, I get out into the community, because I think the best voice you can hear is a community voice. When we talk about serving in the Y, we talk often about the customer voice and the staff voice, but you also need to include community in that voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever... we're going off the cuff a little bit, folks. We're scratching the script a little bit.
It's what we do, baby. It's what we do.
Just teleport yourself back to the beginning of your career, when you were having those conversations with the community. Can you think of or recall somebody in your early part of your career that maybe would have served that inspirational role and really helped you realize the value and the importance of involving the community voice
Yes.
in guiding your work?
Yeah, absolutely, positively. So I grew up, which is maybe harder for our audience to understand, but I grew up in an era when literally the Y was black and white. So I grew up in an African-American only YMCA. And I remember Roy Bewley or Rob Gershon or others telling me how they believed in me, and that my job was to transmit that to others. As I worked in the Y. So as a youth, I was a youth director in my early days, serving primarily middle and high school students. And I learned a lot about listening and hearing, and then reflecting back for them to actually talk to their parents differently than they may have been talking to them at the time. So I would tell you that I remember young, frankly, little African-American boys coming in to what was an African-American only Y. People wanting to kick those boys out, and me helping to help people understand that our essence, right? George Williams was really embracing kids who were causing havoc on the streets, and the Y was the safe haven and the safe place. So I remember telling people back then, right? Change is rarely in the splash; it's always in your ripple. What ripple are you leaving?
That's dope right there. That's real talk.
Yeah, we all leave ripples, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to really be careful about your interactions, because it's hard to take words back.
You ever have somebody say that thing that you hear and you go, yeah, that hit me. Like you had me dumbfounded for a second. I had to write that one down. Change is rarely in the splash.
Always in the ripple.
Always in the ripple.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I really love these things. These conversations, I look forward to them so much. They're so good.
Man, I gotta write that down. I got a wall of quotes right behind me, and that one is gonna have to, supersede one of these 5 that's on my wall.
So let me give you one more that my 16-year-old son told me, right? So here's the humbling.
I'm gonna advertise this as, check out Mike DeVaul quoting 16-year-olds.
Yeah. This was when he was 16, but now he's 19. Okay. So he's a rising junior at Alabama, and I am like everybody else. Some occasionally get humbled, right, by the thank yous. And he told me a couple of years ago, you always try to explain away the thank yous, right? You get so humble, and then people are trying to say thank you. Can't you just say thank you back? And so then I realized, right, the power of that thank you is really in the essence of where your brand gets built. That's the purchase. So I did a little exercise for myself, and I would challenge our audience to do the same. Take a 3x5 card, blank on both sides. On one side, write thank you. Okay? On that side, you're going to, every time somebody says thank you, you're going to create a hash mark. Right? On the back side, you're going to listen for the words, because you're going to get 7, 10, 12 words. And the hash marks and the words really tell you what your brand is transmitting. Right? Because it was my way of listening to what he said to me and my way of transacting in my own head what people were saying so that I could listen on one side the word, and then I could count on the other side. You may get 60 in a week. You may get 100 in a week. You may get 10 words. Those 10 words will reflect what people were purchasing in your brand, because a brand is not a brand unless somebody's buying it.
Real talk.
Word.
Yeah.
Give me 100, right?
Somebody give this man a mic.
I think he just stole your real talk moment.
He did.
For those of you that just watch it, like Andre's brand in the conversation is that he brings the real talk moment to the speaker, and I feel like Mike DeVaul just took his real talk moment.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Andre. I don't like to do that.
I don't even know if my real talk moment is going to be, because the real talk moment, the way, for those of you who don't know what it is that moment where you say something you believe in, something you've learned, something that is actually true from personal experience that might be a little provocative. You know what I mean? Especially if it applies to someone who may or may not be listening to this conversation and needs a reality check. Something that is a must hear, and for us and whoever the audience is, to come to grips with.
It's that.
I don't know if my real talk moment is going to be better than Michael DeVaul's real talk moment.
I think he just had it.
He just had it.
He just had it. I mean, he told you. It was about your brand, man. It's about your brand.
It is. But I still got to ask a question, because I think this question still somehow segues to or from what Michael just said. So, Michael, if you don't mind, our real talk question today is going to be around the age of millennials. So it's really going to be around millennials. The Emerging Leaders Resource Network is, obviously for all, but we really want to make sure that we provide that platform for millennials to be, to be heard, to be seen, to get good advice, to hear Michael DeVaul talk about, how he was when he was a young 20-something-year-old youth director in the YMCA. So this is the age of millennials, and millennials generally are about, bucking the system. We do it our own way. We also know that the perception out there of millennials is, we love the quick wins. We're the now generation. We can always do it better and quicker and more efficiently than our old school counterparts, if you want to call it that. In your opinion, given everything, given kind of the background that I just laid out, in your opinion, what would you say is the most detrimental thing a young professional in the YMCA can do to extinguish the fire of his or her career before it even gets a chance to truly take off?
Okay,
real talk moment. Here it goes.
So that's a real talk moment. So I would say to you,
Michael, before you start, get you some kind of a microphone, because I need you to have Michael out. Yeah.
Drop the mic.
All right, hit him with it.
Go ahead, let me hit it with. I think the one is, while all those things are true that you just said, the one thing you cannot do is wear the chip on your shoulder. So you need it in your pocket, maybe in your wallet, maybe in your purse, but when you wear it on your shoulder, then you are blocking people to get access to you and what you believe and what you can do. Because the reality is it's in the doing, not in the talking, right? And when we wear a millennial on our shoulder, I'm an African-American male, if I wear African-American male on my shoulder, that shoulder and that chip is what people focus on. So if you need it, because I always tell people you need all of you, right? Because people have always said to me, well, what do I do? Because sometimes I feel like I have to leave some of me at home, millennials. Well, the question is, when you need all of you, do you go home and get it? No, you don't. You bring all of you, you just don't share all of you. you choose your moments. right? And you choose your moments. So what I would say is have the chip, put it in your pocket, put it in your purse, wherever don't put it in your shoe. 'Cause sometimes walking on a chip is not good. But you need to have it with you, right? But you always can't share it. You have to wait on the moment. Regardless of your intent, the response you got is what you communicated.
All right.
Did you hear that? The response you got is what you communicated. I love that. That was great.
Regardless of your intent. Yeah. It works great with teenage boys.
I can imagine. So for all those of you who are listening to this call right now and you work with teenagers or you have teenage kids, nephews, cousins, can you say that again one more time for him, Michael?
Regardless of your intent, the response you got is what you communicated.
I'm going to have to use that with staff. I'm going to have to use that with everybody.
Hey, look, this has been real fun, guys. I mean, I got to tell you, this is exactly why we created the Leader Power Hour. It's supposed to be time for you to reflect on your personal brand, reflect on who's inspiring you, reflect on what you're inspiring, and what you're getting back from the environment. But this time, and I got to be honest, we're all about trying to keep it new and fresh and funky. So we wanted to try something a little bit different. This time, we're actually going to ask our conversationalist, our guest today, to ask you a question. I have a feeling it's going to end up getting asked to us first. But what we like to do, and this is actually the goal of these dialogues, is to have you either do a video response, do a a tweet or a Facebook post with the hashtag ELRNNation. So our guest is going to ask you a question, and our goal is to hear your responses. We want responses. This is a nationwide conversation, folks. We're in Baltimore. We're out in Illinois. We got people watching right now. I know for a fact in Chicago and over in D.C. And we really want you all to interact so you can hear from the rest of you. So today we're going to introduce a new feature where our guest is going to ask the nation a question. So Michael, what do you have to ask the nation?
And before Michael goes, I would just like to remind everybody, hashtag when you tweet, hashtag ELRN Nation. It's ELRNATION. So one N between the ELRN and the nation. Hashtag ELRN Nation.
It should also be at the bottom of the video. All right, Mike, sorry about that.
Okay,
go ahead. Right. So here's a question for all of you, right? In the current context, whether you're in Brussels, whether you're in Orlando, whether you're in Ferguson, no matter where you live, right? What is the one thing you would do to flip the why to better serve your community? What's the one thing? You could live in Brussels, you could live in Senegal, you can live in Orlando, you could live in Ferguson, you could live in D.C., you could live in Rock River, Rockford, Illinois. What's the one thing you would do to flip the why and better serve your local community?
All right.
Look at us. Andre and I are looking at each other like, do we have to answer right now?
like you want to answer like right now? Like right now?
Like right now?
Also tweet our responses to hashtag
Andre, Andre, do you want to go first?
I'll talk about locally here in Rockford, Illinois. I think one of the things that's been really, really important to me as I've been learning. I've only been here about 10 months or so, as I've been learning the community, Rockford is definitely not like anywhere else I've ever lived. And as you're learning, so I won't say it's beautiful out here, right? And it's a beautiful microcosm of what we're talking about in terms of any issue you can think of, it exists, right? But on the flip side of it, one of the things that really, really attracted me to this place was they have this initiative. It's a region-wide initiative called Transform Rockford, and it's led by heads of business from all the big companies, whether it's Woodward, whether it's Workplace Staffing, the CEO of the YMCA. So it's this elaborate initiative to transform the city. The goal is to make this city and this region the top 25 by 2025. And therein comes, and in a situation, in a huge initiative like that, you can only imagine that the YMCA is a large part of it. And I guess what I would add to it is an intentional focus on two populations. One, newcomer immigrants, because I personally don't feel like that's something that's really being given the attention it needs in this community. And newcomer immigrants, that's a population that needs to be served everywhere, especially here. Newcomer immigrants, and also young women. So young women who have been in trouble in terms of juvenile delinquency, probation, that kind of stuff. So through a lot of my communication in the community and through conversations that I've had with some foundations and some folks in the police department and things like that, that's been an identified need that I think the YMCA can help meet. So newcomer immigrants and young ladies, because there's a lot of work that happens with juvenile delinquency and probation, and it's all about boys, and it's all about, let's focus on getting these boys the help that they need and things like that. But really, I would say our young ladies tend to be, and if you meet some of these young ladies, they're a lot harder than some of these dudes out here. Okay, they will make a dude look like a little punk sometimes. So, we got to make sure that we're being very universal in the services that we provide. And yeah, that's what I got. What you got, Carson?
Yeah, I think I agree. I echo everything you say, but if I'm going to put my own personal spin on it, I'm actually, right now, I didn't actually say this part, I'm at the 5th National Summit on Preventing Youth Violence here in Baltimore right now. We're currently talking about the gang violence, the situations that have been going on around the country with mass shootings. We've been talking about all kind of things. And I got to tell you, when I think about the Y, I think a lot of times I look at the ads on TV and I see it looks more like a gym membership. Or if people talk about us, they talk about summer camp. I literally just heard the police commissioner in Baltimore, not Baltimore, in Boston. He just presented to us, and he I'm not exaggerating. He talked about the Y he mentioned him over 5 times, and that's because of the amazing work that the Y out in Boston is doing under James Morton's leadership. But also, he talked about the fact that his police officers have an ice cream truck that they drive through the neighborhood to try to build better relationships with the community. And to me, I think the Y has and always will be that kind of community partner that's actually working with the police department, with other organizations around preventing youth violence. But one of the things I think, and I hope that I bring this to the Y and our movement, is that we not only do we focus on our work in child care and prevention, when we talk about our work in summer camp, where we talk about our work and actually making people physically healthy or mitigating or reducing their adverse childhood experiences, my hope is that we realize that everybody, almost everybody, I would say probably everybody, suffers from some form of childhood adverse experience or trauma. And my goal is hopefully that we'll flip this Y on its head and we'll say, you know what? Let's acknowledge that. Let's put that out in the front. Let's figure out how we can become a sanctuary or inform ourselves on the best practices, and not just making somebody look good or feel good, but really get into that deeper holistic healing that comes with mental health support. And even if it's just making people aware of the fact that these adverse childhood experiences have a negative impact on their physical, social, and emotional adjustment as they grow up. I mean, some people, there's actual links. For those of you that don't know, check her out, Dr. Nadine Harris-Burke. She's got a phenomenal TED Talk that kind of brings it all together and helps you realize that, you know what, when this child's environment, the social, emotional supports that exist, they truly do impact the long-term health outcomes for our entire community. So if it's up to me, trauma-informed Y sanctuaries everywhere. Let's do it. And for new immigrants, for young women, for young men, let's not narrow it down to one population. We're here from the cradle, literally to somebody's grave, and my hope is that we can do it in a holistic way that focuses on mental health specifically.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Very good. Hey, 3 words I'll give people on the way out. Access, opportunity, expectations, right? All people will meet and exceed their own expectations if you give them more access and opportunity.
I absolutely love it. And on that note, we just want to say thank you to you, Mike. I mean, you're phenomenal, as we knew you were going to be, of course. We're really excited that you took the challenge of trying to plug into all this virtual technology and getting on board with us and our newfangled devices out here, trying to make this possible across the country. And with that, we'll say thank you all for joining us for another Leadership Power Hour. Andre, you have any words you want to share with the nation before we roll out?
All I'm going to say is, one, thank you, Michael DeVaul. I think we're going to have to make this a reoccurring thing every year. At least once a year, we got to get some knowledge dropped on us by Michael DeVaul. And thank you all for tuning in. Any feedback you have, we'll greatly accept it and appreciate
tweet
it.
out me. Tell them to tweet at me at Michael DeVaul. Go ahead and tweet at me, ELR Nation.
All right, ELR Nation, you heard it.
Tweet him for real.
Tweet the man.
When you go to answer your question, obviously yours is going to probably be a little bit more succinct. But if you have a video reply or anything, do us a favor. Do hashtag ELRN Nation and then actually Mike DeVaul, and hopefully we'll keep this conversation going on a national level.
Hey, Michael, can you spell that out for them so everybody has the correct spelling of your?
We can also put it in the video description below.
Okay.
At Michael DeVaul. Yeah, DeVaul.
All right, sounds good.
All right, folks. Well, this has been another fantastic installment, if I do say so myself, of Conversations with the Leadership Power Hour. On behalf of myself and Andre, we just want to say thank you again for joining us, and hopefully you'll be the next person in our conversation. With that, have a safe day.
Sayonara.